Here they are. Hi. Hi, everyone. We're just going to let the folks who were in the waiting room join us. Come on in. My name is Beth Spotswood. I'm Alta's digital editor. We're going to give it a couple of minutes as all of our guests join. Oh, it's so nice to see so many of you. Thank you. I know today is an exciting day around the world. So it's great to see so many people today. If you, welcome again, Beth Spotswood, Alta's digital editor. I am really excited to do our first episode of Alta Asks Live with contributing photographers, people who submit their work to Alta for inclusion in the magazine. One of the things we are most proud of here at Alta are the not just the contributors, the writing contributors we have, but the incredible photography that we're able to include in our magazine. This quarter's issue, Winter 2021, features many photographers of the West and their look back at 2020. Two of those photographers are joining us here today. I am really, really excited to welcome Paul Kuroda and Safi Alia Shabaik. I'm going to give you a brief little bio on both because they are so awesome. And hold on, let me open it while we have it. This is, so basically what we're going to do today is a slideshow. And we haven't done these often. So it's kind of an exciting moment for those of us at Alta. Paul is a Pulitzer Prize finalist, winner of the NPAA Picture of the Year Award for Newspaper Photographer of the Year. He's born in Fresno, lives in Piedmont. He's a Bay Arean. Safi comes to us from Southern California. She's an LA-based artist who has like an extraordinary background. She's a former award-winning mortician. These days, she is a photographer and a pretty incredible one at that. She's the first recipient of the Las Fotos Project Photo Award for Self-Expression. She is a founding member of the LA Street Collective and is a teaching assistant at the LA Center of Photography. She's also had a feature photo essay spread in a previous issue of Alta. So we're really excited to have them both today. I think that what we're gonna do is welcome everyone, and then we're going to start with Paul. At Alta, we go by alphabetical rules. It's reverse Candyland. And we're going to please ask questions in the chat feature. The last 5-10 minutes of this, we're going to try and get to as many of your questions as we can for either Paul or Safi. But they tend to be, I've learned, photographers more comfortable behind the camera than in front of it. So they both nod, yes. So I've really strong-armed them into doing this interview. But what I'm going to do is share my screen, and we're going to go through some of Paul's images first, and then we're going to move over to Safi. So Safi, I'm going to ask you to close your video window, and I'm going to take us to a PowerPoint presentation. All right, here goes nothing, folks. We're flying by the seat of our pants here at Alta today. It's very exciting. All right. So let's begin with the multi-award-winning Paul Kuroda. This is the image that is in the current issue of Alta. Where are we, Paul? What's going on here?
Angwin. We are in Angwin, California. And I have a friend who actually helped me on this one. She told me the area, so she told me exactly the scope of the land and where like to go to find, to have access. Like in this case, it's private land actually, and it's a vineyard. And I was able to navigate with her directions and find the firefighters here. And I found them, and I just, wow. I spoke to another fireman at length, and then he said, well, there's other crews, down the dirt road. So I did. went down there, and then it was quiet. And I was expecting to run into people, but I couldn't find anyone. And then just past the fire engine, I saw these two guys sleeping, and I was able to, I just kind of, oh my God, this is gold. And I kind of went behind the engine because I didn't want to wake them with my wrestling or anything. I set the camera up and I said, there's no light here. So, but it did produce enough light so I could shoot this. But it was like black. This is a lot brighter than it is in reality. But it's a moment, and I thought with the vineyard there, it says Napa all the way. And in a way, it was sad too, because these guys have been working hard. They go from one fire to another fire, no rest, and they work for so long. And they really, they just take a nap whenever they can. So this is like at 11 o'clock at night, and they're just asleep.
Is there any, can you just, out of dumb curiosity, is there any, you need to ask for their permission at some point? I realize that they're in public, they're clearly first responders. It's part of their job to kind of be out and doing this. Do you need to, I don't know, not tap them on the shoulder, but do you have any personal rules about that? Are there ethical rules around that?
No, I don't. No. If we did that, of course, we wouldn't get the moment. So I would mention I introduced myself afterwards, of course, and got his name. That's Tyler, and he's a sweetheart. And his mom actually found it on the web because I posted it, and she just broke into tears, recognizing her son, and that was the first time she's seen her son in action. In this case, sleeping, but in action and risking his life. And so she was overcome. And that to me was the most heartfelt thing of this image that I made, was that the mom was able to see her son. And, it just was great. Images like this, when it comes together with a human and the family, it makes it all worthwhile to me.
So we have a number of images from the fire, and I'm gonna kind of click through some of these because we've got a bunch. This one was particularly striking to me because you are, or at least appear to be, awfully close to the fire. How did you get that access? What kind of protection do you have? How does this guy feel about you being right there with a big camera?
Well, I rode my bike. I have a electric bike. It was down a fire trail, so my access with a van wouldn't make it. So I have an electric bike that I ride once in a while, and I just rode up. And it was funny because they go, what is that coming up here, to us? And so the chief was saying, and all those guys are having a good time with me because they go, oh, this is so weird. Here I am, I had cameras saying, a journalist coming up to him on, because it's further down the path. But this is misleading in a way because it just was a backfire. And they're just burning with the wind in favorable condition directions, burning off some fuel. So, and these guys are cool. Normally they're always pretty cool. We don't have too many problems with the fire crews out in wildfires, I think. In more in urban areas where you can run into issues. But no, these guys out here, they're really cool. No problems. And there's been other areas where I've been, like that. That's a lot more intense, actually, because that's a real fire. And it's advancing, as you can see, really close and really fast. And I was worried about getting out of there. But these guys are pretty much going because it's overcoming, it's just coming over the ridge now.
And so at what point, first of all, are you allowed to decide at what point you get to leave, or do they?
No. It's up to us. We're at our own risk. The penal code say that we could be there, but we're at our own risk. So, but you can't just go out there. You got to kind of have safety areas. You got to kind of pre-plan it. You got to have the safety gear. All the firefighters, the outfits that they wear, we wear. We carry the shelter. We carry, all that stuff because we could easily, step into a trunk that's burning. You can't see it, but if you step in there, guess what? You get third-degree burns real easy up your leg. And it's even with leather shoes, you can do that. I met a firefighter who did that, and he suffered. So there's a lot of hazards out there. And another time I was out there, and I was shooting and there was at the Paradise, and the fire truck stopped and said, you see that up there? He said, those are widow makers, and those limbs. He said they fall, and they fall all the time. And sure enough, when I go out there, the last fire I covered, there were trees down everywhere. Everywhere I was witnessing trees just fall in front of me. It was so many trees falling, and you could hear them and everything. I was driving, and then all of a sudden I heard a crack, and I stepped on it because I knew what was happening, and right behind me a tree fell. So it's a hazard.
Do you, I
Yeah,
mean, as I
yeah,
look through these and I kind of, so you have such a huge body of work, and I tried to pull the images that made me kind of like stop dead in my tracks. For example, this one. As you get close to, this woman is obviously evacuating. I'm assuming she's
yeah.
evacuating. What's Do you interact with these people at all who are essentially running for their lives? Do you try and remain invisible? What's your level of communication with the people that you're photographing in these situations?
Yeah, that's a good word. Always try to be invisible, fly on the wall. We try always, not put ourselves in and alter the story. So I did have to introduce myself to her first, and because I saw her, I pulled over immediately. I said, "Oh my God, this is what are you doing?" And she said, "Well, for 3 hours now, we've been walking our horse down because she wouldn't go into our trailer, so we're just walking her down to Santa Rosa." So it's a great story. It's one of the things you run into, and so it worked out well for the picture. It was a low light situation. A fire engine just came on by to light them up, and it just worked out well to tell that story.
The next kind of set of photos look like the aftermath. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and again, I'm kind of wondering, clearly you're interacting. I wonder if I can move your face here with um, with these folks who, I mean, are they looking at I'm assuming, are they looking at their house that's not there anymore? Their land?
What's the remnants on the ashes there are beehives. Those are all beehives, and they're all gone. And so it's just, that's their business. And that's Clay and his wife. And he's known in Vacaville as bee man, the honey man. And so he graciously took me to some of his burned hives. And so I kind of wanted to show that because bees are great. I think bees are so cool. And then these guys are cool because, they're the guys who are actually in the trenches, and chainsaws, and they're out there cutting, making it safe, and making the fire breaks, and with a hole and all that. So, but they took a break, and they're just kind of laughing, but here they are. And I just ran into these guys. I didn't spend time. I wouldn't spend time. And these are the Kern hot shots, Kern Valley hot shots, and I wanted to hook up with them again in the future. I probably will.
I love how you've captured these moments of heroes at rest. Almost, we don't think of them as falling asleep in the dirt, sitting beneath the trees, kind of catching their breath. It really humanizes them.
Thank you. And they hate that. They hate that. They want to, yeah, exactly. They hated that. And also they don't want to be photographed because then they got to buy ice cream for everyone.
Oh,
You know that? Yeah. That's one reason, another hurdle you have to overcome, because they don't want to be in the media. Otherwise they have to buy ice cream for everyone.
Was
Yep.
this gentleman right here a guy that, this is a house? This was someone's house.
Yeah. It's very sad. He lost everything. He has everything. He was set up perfectly. He had a garage, workshop. Everything was just how you work all your life, and then he watched his house burn, and he said he only had a couple hours warning and all that. But I don't know what else you can do. The fire came fast, right? So, yeah, just sad tale.
And you, I mean, again, you in these moments try and remain invisible, I assume.
Yeah, he's really a nice man, and I didn't, it's hard to invade because, you want to respect them during the worst time in their life. You want to respect them, but he actually waved me over. So I was kind of fortunate in this
Oh,
case because
wow.
I got to overcome my own barrier as a photojournalist sometimes, as a human sometimes, and to say, hey, I'm going in there and and see what's going on in his life, and you got to overcome that. But this time was easy because he invited me over.
That's incredible. All right, so we're going to move forward to some of the protests from this summer, and I think we have kind of a combination here of Black Lives Matter protests as well as 4th of July in Oakland or the East Bay. So can you tell me a little bit about, you appear to be in the middle of a freeway with some protesters, peaceful protesters.
Oh yeah, that's a chronicle assignment. So I spent the night out. Noah Berger, a good friend of mine who's outstanding photojournalist, we're out all night long and covering the riots. Basically, there were ruthless, lawless people breaking into buildings. And oh, did I lose connection?
I got
And
you.
got me okay. And yeah, I can't see you, but yeah, they were just creating a lot of problems. So I follow a bunch of police cars going code 3 on the freeway. I end up finding the protesters. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to get back on, log back into my computer to see what I'm looking at. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Are you back in?
I'm in. Okay, so I'm in here, and this is the bank on Broadway and 14th. Okay, then you could see what's going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Walgreens. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
The Walgreens. That was something because of the ambiance and all that mist that was in that store and these guys. Yeah, it's something.
and the anger, which is,
Yeah.
extravagant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so as you're kind of, in these moments, do you find it's been, the media, including photojournalists, have been under attack in the last 4 years? Do you find, for the most part, people are willing to let you stand there and capture these, I love this, these moments of personal moments? I mean, or do people kind of push you away? How has your access been in recent years?
Well, with the anti-fall, horrible, horrible. I did shoot some for your magazine when we focused on the anti-fall. And I was able to go to a home of one of the members and photograph him and all that, and another fellow. So through your magazine, I was able, your reporters, I was able to get that. But normally, yeah, they hate you. And all of a sudden you're taking pictures, and then all of a sudden there'd be a bunch of them around you saying, don't take pictures. So you don't. But in this case, these are great people, and I kind of want to balance this with the protest thing coverage I did. It's a culture. It's lovely, lovely people, and all diversity. I'm all for, and whenever I could photograph people as people, and to show that we are all similar, I want to promote that as much as I can as a photojournalist. I think it's really important we do that. And these you don't have to have an event. But in this case, there was a lot of noise complaints, and they were celebrating on a nightly basis. And that's why I shot the fireworks and all that. I want to show that, but I want to show too, hey, these are good people. They're just having a good time. Like a father. I mean, we can all relate to this.
Oh yeah, yeah, I have a 2-year-old. I
Yeah,
can.
I've been here. Yeah.
And a lot of these are really intimate and beautiful.
Yes, I thank you. I want to be. That's my objective. I want to be as intimate as I possibly can. To show the flame. To have in the heart and as best I can. I think that's my job.
Okay, I'm going to stop the share. And we're going. Thank you, Paul. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask Alia Safi. I'm sorry, to come back. Start video. Paul, we're going to close your video, and we're going to Safi, if you're ready for me, we're going to do the kind of a similar thing with you.
I guess
So
I'm as ready as I'll ever
we're
be.
going
So.
to the other end of the spectrum here, folks, and we're going to go into both the other end of California down to LA and into subculture nightlife, which is I've learned about just in getting to know Safi through her work with Alta, but I think is a really we're going to kind of switch gears in what I hope is a really exciting way. So let's do this again. And here we go. I'm gonna close my mug as you take us through these. So this is your image that's in our current issue.
Yes, it's one of the two. This is Selena Blackwater. She is a drag artist. And this was actually a drag night down in Long Beach that was part of a show at Hamburger Mary's called Facade. And it's a show that is a platform for up and coming drag queens to, it's like a contest. It's almost like I guess like a RuPaul's Drag Race, but on a smaller scale. It's not televised. It's not, nationally known. It's one of the smaller I guess precursors to a drag queen getting on a series like that. And so this was during Selena Blackwater's performance.
Where are we? We've moved outside.
We've moved outside. This is on a rooftop in downtown LA. This was an event that was called the Charlie Factory, and it was a kind of performance art night on the rooftop of a hotel in downtown. And the guy who put this together is a designer. I think he's really more of a designer of hair fashion. You'd have to look him up to really understand what I'm talking about. But this was part of the event.
Here we go. And as I look at these again, it's a very different kind of atmosphere, but similarly to Paul's photos, you're intimate. You are up and close, at least it appears so, with these people in what I understand to be a really inclusive but protective underground culture in LA. Can you talk a little bit about how you get access, how you find out about these events,
Sure,
and how you're welcomed kind of into that world?
Okay. I have to say, I do agree with a lot of the things that Paul said about the way he works in his environments. I approach these people with awe, admiration, and love. Like that's where my work is coming from. A curiosity. I'm curious about people. I'm curious about the world and about things that I don't know about, and so or that I'm not familiar with that I want to explore and understand. And there's a lot of. I come from a fine art background, and so there's a lot of art. There's a lot of subcultures that express themselves through art, like an exterior presentation of art. And I seek those out. So that one that you were at a moment ago, that was actually, that's in a fetish club. And then this one afterwards, this is a neo-burlesque performance. This one was also in the current issue of Alta.
I mean, how could it not be? Oh, fabulous. Marilyn Monroe 2.0.
So I mean, I will make a connection. I'll go somewhere and express my interest and talk to somebody, and you navigate through people. You have to be coming from a sincere place, and I always am when I talk to these people because I'm curious about them and I respect the things that they're creating and the way they're expressing themselves. And really, when you show interest and you're thoughtful and respectful of these people, they will they'll open up to you and they'll introduce you to people. And a lot of these worlds cross over each other. So people who are doing, burlesque might also be doing something else in another type of club. And that leads you down another, rabbit hole into another world that, is expressing themselves in a different way and whatnot. Like there's a lot of crossover in these worlds. And this is Geneva Jacuzzi. She was performing, she's a performance artist and musician. And this was a performance of hers in a small this was actually in the backyard of an old historic home, which is a venue here in LA.
And here we are.
Yes.
I love this. And the dollar bill. Can
And
you, that's, I know a little bit about that subculture, but can you talk about that in drag performance?
About drag? Sure. Typically drag queens are known, it was a term originated in the 19th century British theater as slang to describe women's clothing worn by men. Drag queens don't always wear women's clothing. Like, that's not necessarily the only definition of drag. There are other ways that drag queens manifest their personas. This one happens to be, more of a feminine presentation. And she's performing, this is Mariah Balenciaga. She was on RuPaul's Drag Race season 3. And this is in one of the popular drag clubs here in West Hollywood. And so they'll come out on stage, they'll perform, and the crowd that's there to see them and enjoy the show always throws money towards the performer. I mean, it's the way they support each other and support their creativity. This
was in an earlier issue of Alta.
And this is Violet Chachki. She's a very well-known drag queen and burlesque performer. And this was at one of the shows called Lucha Vavoom, which is a really, really great event that used to happen here before lockdown. It would take place like 4 to 5 times per year. And it's a big event that encompasses a lot of different types of creative performers. It involves Mexican wrestling and drag burlesque performers or burlesque performers that are not in drag. It has mariachis, and this is also from Lucha Vavoom. There's a Mexican wrestler there in the background, and some of the performers around this person in the front who's right above my camera, and that's actually Peaches, who's a musical performer. Also, it's a very it's a very over the top, extravagant production. And there's always musical guests and, various types of performing that goes on there.
How are you, as I click through the last of these, how has, I'm assuming, and we can ask him, but for someone like Paul, who's out, covering news events, you're covering events that have presumably been, for the most part, shut down due to the pandemic. How's this impacting your work?
Well, I mean, this type of work is on hold. Nothing is happening here. People can't gather in these ways. They can't, the clubs are closed. A lot of these performers are, I think, having to figure out, a new path forward. A lot of them are performing virtually online. But that's a different energy than performing in front of a crowd. So they're trying to adapt to the world as it is for all of us right now. For myself personally, it has given me an opportunity to kind of return to creating things with my hands. I come from a fine art background, so I studied many disciplines of art. And photography is one that speaks to me very, very loudly, but I also do mixed media collage, and I do sculpture, and I do, experimental videos. So this has actually given me time to shift to those things and work on some of those projects that have maybe been a little bit on the back burner because I've been out in the clubs and doing this kind of work for a while, for the last 5 to 6 years. It's also given me time to work on pulling together a book. I'm slowly finalizing a book, which is it's like a subset of my nightlife work. And so that, hopefully I'll finish that in the next, month or two. But yeah, it's given me time to work on other projects.
When you are in my last question before we go back and open it up to questions for you and Paul, when you were at these, that was the end, so we'll end with this one. When you were at these events, are you dressed in any way on theme, or are you walking around in an Old Navy sweatshirt with it?
let's just say I lived in New York for a long time, and I'm of the notion, like Paul, that I want to be a fly on the wall. So I usually dress in black. I'm usually, trying to be as non-invasive and as I try to maneuver myself in ways that are not going to disturb the actions that are happening in front of me, and that will allow me to capture the truth that I see in front of my lens. Um, I mean, there are times when I might do a portrait of someone and stage them, but for the majority of this work, nothing is staged. I'm catching everything in um, usually the available light that's there. Once in a while I use my flash, but majority of the work is available light, and it's natural interactions of people. All the work that you showed tonight were natural, natural behaviors of people. I didn't pose any of those. So I don't normally pose, but when I get to know certain performers, if I see them doing something, I might say stop, and just hold that for a moment. Or because there's some performers I've worked with for 5 years, 6 years, so we know each other pretty well. But then there's some that I'm just coming into for the first time and have to figure it out on the spot and just be as uninvasive, unintrusive as I can.
Let's bring Paul back. We've got some last, here he is. Paul, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
So the first question that we got is for Paul. What equipment are you using?
Okay, I went from Canon to Sony mirrorless. Now I'm back to Canon mirrorless.
Paul, I
but
for you.
As I mentioned, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Safi.
Oh, I'm just curious. I mean, you are putting yourself into these really dangerous situations, right? With the fires. Are you wearing like a respirator? Are you protecting your own?
Oh, I have a prop. Yeah, I always wear this. I always wear this because this is heavy duty stuff. I put a filter even inside it. So my exhalation valve is filtered. But oh my God, yeah, it's horrible up there. I mean, oh yeah, the air conditions are just it's just the worst possible. So it's cancerous and all that. It's really nasty stuff. So you got to try to wear that, but that gets heavy and uncomfortable after a while. So you're right. But you got to do it.
It's hard to navigate that with the camera, up to your face, because that's bulky too.
Well, it's more of the goggles. You get the goggles on, and then but no, it's not really that bad, Savi. It's not really a challenge. But cameras are just tools. They're just shovels. You just hope that you push a button and it's going to shoot and it's going to capture properly. That's all you want it to do. So it's not really a matter of brand. But I am finding I'm sorry with Sony, but I had to go back to Canon. I just got these in December for like Christmas. I got whole new system Canon now. So
we're getting. I had asked. We were like, we're not going to get any questions about your equipment. It looks like we have a lot of super serious photographers here. So we're gonna even dive deeper into this. Paul, what lenses?
Well, yeah, I like Prime. The Prime 50 is my favorite, but then I like the long ones. I mean, so it's whatever is suitable for the situation. Let's say, who knows, right? But 24-105, okay, that's my bread and butter. 24-105. I love the 50 because of the, everything, the effect, the softness, and then I like the long ones because they're get you where you want, where you can't be. And it gets in close, it gets in real close. And then the new bodies, one thing, okay, well, one of the good things about the new bodies is if you want to, I never used to crop, but now the abilities of the technology, you could really crop. And so you could actually capture things without the long lens. So you don't need to carry the big long thing. You just use that and you could just, crop it, and then you could get just what you want. Just what you want to capture, what you want to say, because you capture too much and then it actually dilutes and makes the image less impactful and your message more cluttered. So you want to kind of get to the point, and have the reader or the viewer kind of fill it in. You don't want to be literal. If you're literal, then it weakens it. So if that makes sense.
I mean, I'm sure it makes sense to Tomas, who really wants to know exactly what cameras. Speaking of which, we are getting a ridiculous amount of questions about what camera and lighting you're using right now. In the Alta Slack channel, I can tell you that it looks like a Ken Burns PBS film. How have you created this amazing lighting? I feel like if I were in it, I would look 12 years old. It's so great.
It's amazing. I need it. Well, I have
You have a
CTO.
setup?
Do you know what CTOs are? They're basically, yeah, just filters. Here's one light. Can you see it? And this is cheap, just cheap stuff you find on Amazon, okay? Technology, right? And then you got the CTO, and this helps my, make me look better, right? So that's the secret right there.
It's working. I hope that my boss is watching this because I'll be needing to order that. Safi, when can we expect your book?
It's a good question. Like I mentioned before, probably in the next month or two. I would say let's give it 2 months, just because you never know what's going to pop into your life during the pandemic. So I hope to have it wrapped up by then. The book is actually focused on this one burlesque troupe that I photograph quite often. And I started the project at the beginning of the pandemic when all of the clubs shut down, because like I mentioned before, a lot of these performers, that was their bread and butter, performing in these clubs, and they would gig every night of the week, some of them. And none of us knew what the future looked like. I mean, we still kind of don't know what the future looks like. So, but back in, March and April, like we really had no idea what was happening. And everybody was kind of thrown into this abyss of, mystery. And I wanted to do something, not only to keep myself creative, but also to give back to them, because I could see how much this was affecting them. And I wanted something positive to, for them to look forward to, or to like, just, I don't know, something, to look forward to, I guess. And so I started working on this project, and the book will be mostly the behind the scenes moments that I've captured with this troupe, the community that they are and what they mean to each other back there in prepping for their showtime. So that's what I'm working on.
Paul, any books in the works for you?
No, sorry, nothing.
Or pass?
No.
All right, great. So we have gone over. I like to leave everyone wanting more here at Alta Asks Live. We'll be switching our branding to Alta Live, by the way. But I'm going to try and round up some links of the things we talked about today. This has all been recorded. If you want to go back to that slideshow and relive any part of it, you can later today. Give me until about 3 or 4. I'm actually, if you registered for this event, I will send you an email with that link. I hope that you enjoyed today. If you're at all interested in 2 incredible California West Coast based writers, Ben Ehrenreich and Roberto Lovato will be joining us next week, 12:30 here at Alta Live. They're going to discuss Roberto's book, Unforgetting, and Ben's book, Desert Notebooks, both of which are excerpted in this current issue in our winter read section. That is at 12:30 next week. I'll include a link to that in your email as well. I am so grateful to Paul and Safi for stepping in front of the camera for us this time. I know it was a big ask, so we're of course grateful to feature your work in Alta, but I'm especially grateful that you were so generous and brave with us today. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
A delight. And thank you to everyone who tuned in. Stay safe, and we will see you soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye.